The life pomp and circumstance until I was in Marion City High School graduation.
So we need at least one online.
We have 2 online. Though.
Okay, so we're set.
We're good.
We're good. Should I make a motion?
Ray Gillen is an online issue.
I don't see her now.
Okay, thank you.
She is. Do it to make sure.
The agenda is on page 4.
So am I running it until we
Until we elect.
elect? Okay.
So. Once you get it
Yeah, no, that's okay. Gotta find some fire.
So it is 6:06. Let's call this North Marion Budget Committee meeting to order. You all join me for a salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I will do a roll call since we have some people online. Ricardo?
Yeah.
Heidi?
Here.
Richard?
Here.
Christy? Christy? Bill? Here. Crystal? Crystal? Jolynn? Brent? Here. Mike? Mike? Jay? Here. Josh?
We know he's there.
Was he online before? I thought I saw him there. Yes. Mike's unmuted. Calling Josh.
I'll let you know that.
Emily.
He's there.
Okay, so that gives us a quorum to transact business, so.
Our first order is to, I did those out of order, but elect budget committee chair. So I would take nominations from the floor. I nominate Emily. Second. Thanks, Brett.
Have a nomination in a second. Any other nominations? Sorry, do you accept?
Sure.
Okay.
Diane, do you want that as a roll call vote or just a voice vote?
So nomination votes.
So voice votes, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
All those in favor of Emily Hammack as chair, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard. And with that, what's that?
Still don't hear Richard online. I don't hear anybody.
Heard.
Yeah, Richard was on.
I said I only told Richard.
Are you not able to hear me or?
Clear.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so with that, I will turn the meeting over to you, but I think our next item up is.
Emily, would you like me to come sit down?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
I can just swap.
Oh, okay. You come over.
Okay. So I'll ask the superintendent, Ginger, to read the budget message. Okay.
That starts on page 8 for those that are following along.
It is my pleasure to present the budget committee, the proposed budget for the 2022-23 year. This message is intended to provide a summary of the proposed budget and how this budget differs from the prior year. The budget is built on the assumption that the state of Oregon will provide the North Marion School District with its share of the state school fund of $9.3 billion, a fully funded student investment account, and a fully funded high school success act, measure 98. Since this is the second year of the biennium, we do not expect any surprises in this area. While COVID-19 seems to be easing, at least in the sense of severity of cases, it continues to have effects on our enrollment across the state. We saw declining enrollment again in 2021-22, and we are expecting this trend to continue for the 22-23 school year. This reduction in students has created a degree of uncertainty in the budgeting process. When preparing each new year, we forecast from the current year's enrollment data in order to project enrollment, staff levels, and budget allocation needed for the next year. For the 2022-23 school year, we assume all currently enrolled students will return, except for our seniors, of course. We are estimating kindergarten enrollment will be the same as 2021-22. This brings our estimated enrollment to 1,633, the lowest level of students North Marion School District has served since 1997-98. There is a fail-safe formula built into the state school fund that provides funding based on the current or prior year average daily membership weighted, whichever is higher. We expect to be funded at this year's 2021-22 ADMW level. At the time of this writing, negotiations are still in progress with the licensed and the classified unions. In creating this budget, we have made some assumptions about the negotiations outcome, but these are only placeholders until the contracts are finalized. For 2022-23, we assume all employees will receive a 2.5% cost of living adjustment, along with a 1.5% to 5% step or longevity increase for most employees, and an additional 100 or 130 monthly increase in insurance. This budget includes fully funded student investment account allocations for 2022-23. This funding will be spent mainly on personnel, English language development teachers, a behavior specialist, counselors, a kindergarten teacher, and a communications specialist, family liaison, an interpreter translator, and the director of equity, inclusion, and title programs. The other large purchase will be for secondary math adoption. Title grants, IDEA, and ESSER funding saw little change from 2021-22. We will continue to receive funds from the HB 3499 program for improving ELD student outcomes. These funds will also support staffing an ELD position. We may also receive funds from House Bill 4030, retention and recruitment. Applications are due by May 26 and need approval. We have budgeted as if we will be approved for these funds. Changes to our general fund budget as compared to last year for this proposed budget are briefly summarized below. As mentioned above, this is the second year of the biennium. Our state school fund anticipated revenue is projected to be approximately $100,000 less than last year. This decrease is due to declining enrollment.
The state saw a drop in enrollment of about 30,000 students. The state school fund allocation per student is higher due to this overall drop. Approximately 80% of the budget is dedicated to personnel costs. Each year, the roll-up cost of personnel is normally the largest increase in the budget. Pay scales for staff are based on yearly step increases, which represent a 2 to 5% increase in pay. Some staff have reached the top of the pay schedule and receive longevity pay annually. In addition, unions negotiate additional raises known as COLAs or cost of living adjustments and additions to their benefits package, which add to the overall cost of personnel. This year's proposed budget reflects an increase in salaries and associated payroll costs over last year's budget of about $300,000. When negotiations with the unions are complete, these numbers will change. It is unknown at this time whether negotiations will be complete before this budget is adopted on June 13, 2022. This year's budget does not allocate money for curriculum adoption as there is not the capacity to do so. As mentioned before, the SIA funds will cover the secondary math adoption costs. The investment the district has made in providing technology to its students and staff is significant. Not unlike any other item, repairs and replacements must be planned for, budgets allocated so students and staff will continue to work in technology-rich environments. ESSER dollars have helped and will continue to help with technology needs for students and staff. Emergency connectivity funds are funded by the federal government and will be used for Chromebooks, tablets, iPads, and hotspots. The district continues to run on a modified accrual basis for accounting. The budget document presented today and adopted with any modifications in June becomes the financial plan of the district for 22-23. The district places annual audits and yearly budgets on our website. Monthly revenue and expense reports are included in regular school board meetings. We are almost to the finish line with very few items remaining to complete the bond work. We expect to replace 2 more roofs and finish the camera security entrances and door locks this year. In closing, we thank the Budget Committee, the members of the North Marion School Board, and the community for helping us provide the allocation of resources necessary to help all students achieve their potential. As we head into a new normal, our staff has and will continue to provide a high-quality educational experience for students. We thank everyone for their hard work and dedication. Respectfully submitted, Ginger Redlinger, Superintendent, North Marion School District number 53.
So, you can just say that.
Okay, thank you, Ginger. And go ahead.
As mentioned, as Ginger said, thanks everyone for coming and being online or wherever you're at to hear this budget message. Before I start, are there any questions just from any of you? I've put together a few things that I do want to point out, but if there are no questions, proceed. Ask me, interrupt if you need to as I go through, and we'll go from there. So the first thing I want to mention is the challenges that we're having because of negotiations not being complete for the 21-22 school year for the licensed staff. Not knowing what that number may be and what that cost may be makes it hard to know what your ending fund balance could be, because we may complete that by June 30th or we may not. So we may pay it out in this fiscal year 21-22, or we may not pay it out until the 22-23 fiscal year. So I budgeted as if it doesn't get complete and we will pay it out next year. If it does get finished by June 13th, what I will give you for the adopted budget to adopt at the board meeting June 15th will be completely different numbers, because I will put those costs and they will be different. The ending fund balance and the contingency will be different because of that. So
How close are we in negotiations? Are we, I mean, because you hear lots of different stuff, so you guys are the ones who are sitting with them. How close are
We have an 8.5-hour meeting scheduled for Wednesday with them. We're going to start during the day. We're going to start at 11 and go until then. And we're hoping to hit on all the open articles and the financials that day. That's our plan, and that's what they would like to do also. So we'll see where we get then. That's the first really long meeting we've had. Most of our meetings have been about 2 hours long. And this year we've spent a lot of time on MOUs to do with COVID and reopening schools and stuff like that. So hopefully, I'd say we have 9 articles TA'd, and probably there's a good 7, 8 that we didn't open, but there's 32 articles total. So I'd say there's about 6 left that have financial impact, and probably about that many that don't have financial impact, but have language that they see. So that's where we're at with it. Hard to say how close we are until we get there. Hopefully we're close to it. Very close. Hopefully Wednesday we'll get a lot done. That would be nice. I'd like to point out page 11 of the budget document. And when I say to those people online, it's actually the number page 11. So, and I just want to point out what Ginger said in the budget message that actually it's not page 11. Hold on. It is page 12. That this is giving you a historical history of staffing and enrollment. So it's just something that I mentioned last year, and I wanted to mention again, is as we said in the budget message, our enrollment is going down, and it is starting to create a funding issue for us because it just continues. Like we said, if it comes in how Ginger and I estimated for October 1 is our official enrollment date, we'll be down to 1997-98 levels for students. That's a long time ago. So it will continue to affect our funding for SIA, for Measure 98, for a lot of things. We haven't seen too much decline at the high school level, but that'll start to come as these grade levels move on. The information I looked up a week or so ago on birth rates, it's going down all over the state as far as who was born 5, 6 years ago to bring in more kindergarten students. So it's hard to say if maybe this is going to be the new normal. And if that's the case, will the state fund at a level like we're seeing, or will they say, well, you have 30,000 less students, we're going to take some funding away from you, which I know Bill hears that when he's at the legislature and at the state level. So we're going to fight that they don't do that, but we don't know. And I'll remind those that might be watching, North Marion's share of the state school fund is about 1/3%. So we don't have a lot to say, but let me tell you, we try. So we do our best for that. When on page 6, well, now I got to check first. So I think it's page 16 we're going to now, but I'm going to look and see if that's to be funds. Yeah, page 16 is 16 and 17 is a list. 16 only is a list of all of the funds. So when you're going through the detail, if you wanted to go through detail, that tells you what this fund is about and what the purpose of the fund is. Kind of gives you an overview of where you're at. On page 18 and 19, same idea, only with your revenue sources. So you can see the first in the 1000s, you have your property taxes and interest on investments, tuition, miscellaneous stuff. So kind of gives you an idea if you're going through the detail of the budget, just what that means and what that money is supposed to be, what it's bringing in or where it's coming from. On page 21, there's a 5-year comparison of actuals, the adopted budget for last year, and then the proposed, so that you can see kind of where we expect the money to come in and where the money has come in at in the past. You can see in 2021, the actuals versus the adopted for 21-22, it was down quite a bit. But because of that $30,000 change, enrollment change across the state, we're going to get 16 point something in there, 16.3-ish, 4-ish, maybe I don't remember the number right now. Or maybe it's 16.2, but it's not as bad that difference is not as bad as we thought it would be at budget time, which is a change. On 27, 28 are your expense functions, so that gives you an idea of what you see in the detail, what 1111 is, that's primary K-12 stuff. Hello, Mike.
My name over there is. I can't hear you. So it took me a half hour to find the library.
Oh, sorry. On page 30,
Huh?
I'm glad you're here.
There's nobody comes to the school. There's nothing. I know the custodian showed up. Thank you.
sorry, Mike, I thought I put in the email where to go in that door and up and to the left, I'm sorry. Anyway, going along on page 30, there's a 3-year summary that gives you a really good overview of actual expenses for 2021, the adopted for 21-22, and the proposed for 22-23. And that's where you'll see at the first section that 80+% of our general fund is for salaries and benefits. I mean, we're a service industry and that makes sense. Then you can see the other categories, the 300s through the 600s. And down below, I put the larger purchases. For those of you that have seen this year after year, there's no change in the format. It's the same. So you can see where we think electricity is or was, natural gas, phone, sub costs, and transportation. I do want to point out that I reduced the sub costs for next year. We're having trouble getting subs, so I thought, well, you know, I may have reduced it a little too much, but we're going to find out. So that's one of the issues, or one of the challenges with this budget, is there's really no trend data for a lot of these numbers, because even electricity, you didn't have kids in the school for a year. We didn't use as much electricity, so you're hoping that you budgeted enough or close to what we're going to use, but it's been sort of a challenge to estimate where we're going to be with a lot of these numbers. Done my best, and we'll see how it goes. On page 31 is the expense and the FTE comparison. So it shows you 5 years worth of data with what, say the top line, 111 is primary and intermediate instruction, what they've cost through the years, and then how many FTE there are for that group. So you can see where the bigger numbers have normally a higher FTE amount. Just a nice summary page to look at when you want to know, what does maintenance cost? So you look down at line 30, which is operations and maintenance and plant services. It includes 16 people, and it costs, we're budgeting $2.4 million. So you know that's everything up to and including 12.
So do some of these differences, do they offset, like for instance, the high school instruction is going down by 2, but ESL is going up by 2?
Some of them do, yes. Let's see if I have.
I know there was comments on one page.
I took that, that's the page you replaced, because those were comments from last year.
Oh, okay.
So let me find that one. Yes, I know, for instance, at the high school level, I know we're down one language arts person and appoint something on someone else, so it all kind of plays out. Normally you can look at a special revenue fund, 212, your 1250s and 1220s in lines 9 and 10, and they usually all kind of add up the same, just depending on where you're at with it.
Okay.
I'm gonna look at this before I say anything. Okay, page 72, Greg, way down. Special revenue funds, this is just a summary of the revenue funds we expect to get in. We may or may not get this much. Included in there under the 3299 are the ESSER funds. And we don't know what we're going to spend there. We're still waiting to get our RFP out for HVAC equipment at the intermediate and the 2 places here at the high school that weren't redone. And that process is taking a lot longer. The units they were hoping to use are no longer being made, and something changed with coolant. And so you have to use a different blah, blah, blah. So they're working on it. So we'll see how far we get with that. Page 82 is a capital projects fund. Or intentionally left that blank. Maybe we'll go a little further and go to page 86, 85 and 86. I just wanted to mention that I have estimated the actual capital projects, not the construction excise tax, a little high because I really wasn't sure where we're going to finish this year. We're doing camera work and security work right now, and they have a big push going on. So we may spend a couple $100,000 right now, but I don't know that. So I just wanted to let you know that that one could fluctuate too. And I think if you want to know detail on the ESSER dollars, it's on page 129 through 138. And that seems to be a topic of conversation out and about. So if you have people asking you, you can look that up. Also, in the budget workshop, you saw the page of the information I gave that gave a good breakdown of what, well, excuse me, I thought it was a good breakdown of what we have spent our ESSER money on and what we expect to spend it on. So that's something that the community's been asking about and might help. That's all I have. Any questions from anyone?
This is Rich. I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Just the total amount of the proposed budget. It looked like I saw a couple of different numbers on different sheets that you went through there, and I might have just been looking at the wrong numbers. But
In the total, I think it's what, 39 million, I think.
That's what's in the budget message.
39,818. You would add up the total for 200 funds, 300 funds, 400 funds, and general fund. So general fund is 24.6 million, 200 funds are 9 point some million, and then you'd add up the 300 and 400 to get to that 39 million.
okay,
that
yeah,
help?
I think it was I saw a 22 million and a $24 million number on different pages, but again, I might have just misunderstood them.
Without knowing what page, I'm not sure.
I was gonna say, it sounds like general fund numbers.
Yeah, they are general
General
fund.
fund is 24.
Yeah, it is a general fund amount, but I thought I saw two different numbers for the proposed general fund numbers.
So page 21 and page 22, if you look at the proposed column, it's 24,610,897. And if you look at the proposed column in the what looks like came out of a computer system, which it did, it's also 24,610,897. So we should be good there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
It could be saying,
You know, I mentioned it. Yeah.
this page 24 shows slightly different.
That's because there's 2 fund numbers. You have to add that and that to get to it. That could be it, Richard. You could, when you look on page 24, you would need to add 24 and 25 to get to the 24.6 million. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else?
On page 21, the 5,400, is that like just the cash in the account?
That's the ending fund balance or the beginning fund balance, depending on what you're.
So you were saying earlier how if teachers get paid in this biennium, it may affect that 3.4.
This will go down a lot. Yeah.
And is there an estimate? I mean, obviously they're still negotiating, but I mean, is there a ballpark? Is it $1 million? Is it $2 million? Is it
No,
500,000?
Well,
What
I
could
think
be the
what
impact?
we have on the table is close to 500,000. I don't have it in my head. So let's say 450 to 500, and I think what they're asking for is way over $1 million. So it could change drastically. I think they're at 1.4 million, I think, for the first year of what they want. So we'll see where it goes. The 2.6 million is where I'd like to end with that, or somewhere in that ballpark, in order to make everything work for next year. So if we go,
How much do you think you'll dip into that 2.6 million in the next 5 years?
a bit, I don't know, probably a good million of it.
Board has a floor on that.
Yeah,
Therefore, you have to keep
the
a reserve, so
contingency, which you'll see in the expense portion, the board asks us to keep a 5% ending fund balance. And I know that's always a question this time of year with my business managers, and a few emails were going around about it. Somebody has a board policy, but actually it's in policy. They can't go under 6.5%. GASB suggests 5 to 15% or 1 to 2 months worth of expenses. So right now our payroll is running 1.5 million. So we would need 3 million to have 2, but 1.5 would get you close to it. Our contingency for this budget, if you're basing it on the expenses, should be about 1.2 million, I think. So that's about what we'd like to see.
Just as a reference from Big Brother, Portland just announced they're reducing their 10% to 7% to cover losses of students.
Yeah.
But it's temporary.
Yeah, and we
They run
used,
a 10%
yeah,
floor.
years ago, we kept a 10%, but we have brought that down over the years.
One of the things we like to brag about is that we were always just over 6% for a great many years before we did the bond, which gave us our AAA bond rating, which is why we got so much money for the bond.
We have not, has the board, did we vote on what our EFB should be for this budgeted year, for this budget?
Last year, we just said that we would leave it, change it for 1 year only and 5%, go back to 5%. Okay, we didn't vote for a different number, but
We budgeted at 5%.
yes, but it's higher because we have a contingency in case I have to.
Yeah. I saw one thing, I don't know what page, 15,000 went to PERS. Does that catch up still?
15,000, that was last year's information, right? It was, and we paid it out in this current
Are
year.
we
So
caught
we
up
did
with
a
PERS?
We did
or-
a PERS POB bond. It's for the unfunded liability. So we had, I want to say $15.458 million of a liability. And so we joined with about 22 other school districts and did a bond for that to reduce our bond costs for upcoming years. I did reduce our bond cost by about 3% because of that. Now, whether that, I don't believe that'll hold for a while because now interest rates are going up and that hurts when you've done a bond. That's how that turns out.
Okay, now the capital project on this page 85, there was construction excise tax, 95,000. Where does that go to?
Construction excise tax money is for capital projects. It can only be for something that's over $5,000 and lasts a year or more. The construction excise tax money comes in from anyone with new builds, residential or commercial.
Okay, this is income.
That's what we expect to get in, yeah. So we don't know. It's we know Donald has some construction going on, and then Aurora is usually pretty quiet, or has been in the last few years. Marion County's had a few good ones for us this year, but don't know what they'll do for next year. And then Hubbard has slowed way down. You know, the new subdivisions they've done.
The airport will probably have a project or two.
They might, yeah. So that's what that's.
And we don't receive anything with the huge project on I-5 for the Amazon.
No, that Woodburn
That's
School
Woodburn
District
School
is probably very happy.
That's Woodburn School District. I know it's Woodburn, but
Yeah, but no, we don't, but there is a limitation in those rules that were wrote, I don't remember how many years ago, quite a few now. it's $25,000 per commercial unit. We went through this with GK grant years ago. And so it appears to me Amazon is building one large, very large building, so they're gonna pay 25 grand in them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
5
they're,
floors.
and of course, we're allowed to be the recipients of like construction homes, because there's 1,800 employees going.
right, right.
So what?
Yeah, well, I saw the new construction going in by Owls on 99, and I mean, they're, yeah, 2 units, 2 big
About
units.
1,200 units altogether between those two.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know.
I think they're pre-positioning infrastructure now for Front Street and Hubbard.
Okay.
There is gas lines going in,
Mhm.
and there's some upgrades happening from Public Works to make that connectivity, so. I don't know when, I think the trust is still operating that, Frank's Trust,
Mhm.
in terms of calling the shots, so I'm not sure when or how that will, I haven't seen a flat map. Yet, I mean, we had one a couple years ago, but not anything firmed up, so.
Well, definitely housing inventory in our area is going to be, and in this whole area is going to be tight when you think of the expansion of that. You guys have been expanding at GK. I mean, it's tight.
And Tesla's now building a big warehouse in Canby.
Yeah.
Do we have anything in our budget for children that have no homes, people living in their cars?
We get some funding through the state school fund for that.
We do.
It's a part of the weighted stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then some of our Title I money can be spent on that also.
Do we have any that children you know of?
Oh,
Parents?
yes, we do. I couldn't tell you the number, but we have a person who actually watches out for those kids
Oh,
here, and it's
okay.
helpful. I know earlier this year, a family moved that had no place and finally found a place, but then they had nothing to put in it. Nothing, not a pot, a pan, a bed, a blanket. So.
We have a North Marion nonprofit that helps those people.
Mhm.
Okay,
That functions.
because this time next year, it's gonna be twice as big.
For those kind of county services, most of the money coming through there for those, to help those people is coming through.
It's come from the county. Okay.
Are there any public comments?
Is there public?
Maybe
I can't see who's on.
Greg, is there any public online?
Looks like there's one person who's not a board member or a committee member.
I did not have anyone sign up or send me an email as was requested. Diane, you didn't, did you? No, okay.
That'd be it.
Do they have their hand raised?
No,
This is a meeting, you don't have to raise your hand, so they just have to unmute their mic.
So if we're ready to approve, we would not need to do that.
So.
A resolution to approve.
Someone needs.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'll ask for a resolution to approve the 2022-23 proposed budget.
you guys want to do it on?
Can we start over again? I misspoke. But we can trust her.
I'll go ahead. Resolution for imposing, oh, that's not the right one. I'll make a motion to approve the North Marion School District budget proposed 2022-2023 budget in the amount of $39,818,919 as presented.
Is anyone second?
I second the motion.
Motion approved.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Any nays?
And or
Yeah.
you say chair votes.
Chair votes with the majority. Yes.
Okay, so it's
Motion's-
So motion is now passed.
Now we need the resolution. And if anybody wants to read it, it's on page 5.
I'll read it.
I propose the resolution.
Be it resolved.
Be resolved that the Budget Committee of the North Marion School District 15 hereby imposes the taxes provided for in the approved budget at the district's permanent rate of $3.333
Yep.
per 1,000 of assessed value for operations in the amount of $2,181,281 for debt services on general obligation bonds, and that these taxes are hereby imposed and categorized for tax year 2022-23 upon the assessed value of all taxable property within the district.
You guys want to second that? Possible.
I think you have to
Second the
second it.
motion, getting better at it.
Is there a motion to approve that? Or,
That
wasn't
the
the
motion
motion.
you're gonna vote.
oh,
Yeah,
now,
you seconded.
okay,
Oh,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All, any nays?
Is the other item hearing online, Josh?
yes.
The resolution is approved.
You vote for
I approve the resolution.
You vote in favor.
Vote in favor of the resolution.
it.
Meeting is adjourned at 6:45 PM.
And we don't have to read the last one here, the imposing the tax, right?
You just.
That's the same thing. It's just the same one.
Okay, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and just so you know, this, we used to only do this at the budget adoption, but the local government laws changed and it has to be read at both. And we do it both times. So Glenn, I'll have you sign next.
This one, oh, next time, okay.
When the
Okay,
board
thank you, everyone. Thanks for being online.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.